Hi, today on From the Painter's Palette, we'll transform this sketch into a lovely watercolor of Echo Lake. So stay tuned and I'll show you how. I'm an artist and I've been teaching for over 50 years, teaching children and teaching adults. And I really enjoy the teaching. And I paint everything that I see. If you're wondering where I get my inspiration, we travel. We travel all over the world. Also, I come from New York, and New York is an interesting place to paint. It's very colorful. Buildings, the traffic, the cabs, the people. And now, get your palette, get your brushes, and let's get started. First of all, this is watercolor paper, and the watercolor paper is mounted on a board. To keep it flat, I soaked it first, and then I stapled it down. Unfortunately, I see some of the staples coming out, but it's not too bad. All right, here are all my paints, and here are an assortment of brushes, and I will show you which brush I use and tell you about it as I'm using them. The first thing I'm going to do now is to do the lake. Sounds logical. And I'm going to use a little bit of, let's see what it is. I'm going to wet this lake here. Actually go right across the whole paper with water. I have a very, very brief sketch just to show the placement of where the things are, like the trees and everything. And I'm going to use some cerulean blue. Actually, it's a little blue-green, but that's okay because I have a lot of blue and green in the painting. So I'll show you in a minute after I get this little bit of color on here. I'm going to come down here. I'm using, as I say, a mixture of two blues. Blue, yeah. One blue is a cerulean blue, and one blue is actually a green. And there's a little drip over here. So I'm going to go ahead, wipe my brush off, run my brush along the drip, and it will pick it up. Now, this brush is a little different. It has a square edge to it, and it covers a lot of territory. It also has something which I don't know if I'm going to be using this time or not. It has a bevel. It's cut at a bevel. And in fact, this brush you could get in different sizes. Well, here's the drip again. Okay, so now let me maybe do some of the sky. So let's go back. And I'm wetting the sky. And I'm going to use the same colors. I'm going to use, at this time, let's see. I'm mixing two blues here. I'm using cobalt blue. Cobalt and cerulean. going to show you something different soon. That color is not exactly the color of the water. The water has more green. And let me show you something. I'm going to lift off some color. What I'm doing is blotting my brush, and I'm lift off a little color here to give a feeling of clouds. Okay, now we have the mountain range over here, and that is sort of a greenish. Everything here on this photograph is green and blue. I sat here and I painted this, which was a lovely, lovely thing to do. Okay, so let's try and let's get a little bit of, I'm mixing a bunch of colors here, and I'm mixing sort of, well, I don't know if I like, that's a little bright. Well, I'm going to leave it because that's going to be my underpainting. And I have some other colors here, but I'm afraid they're going to run into this, so I'm not going to touch that. I think back down here, I'm going to put some bushes here. So I'm going to start using the same color scheme again. Doesn't sound very original, but I change it a little bit. This is going to be a bush over here. So this is the underpainting for the bush. Yellow, green. And I can't tell you exactly the color of the yellow at this point because I have so many different yellows. I think this was called New Gamboge here. I bent this little photograph. I'm not taking the photograph off here. There's a big bush over here too. And let's go ahead, just to change it a little bit, taking a little orange and mix it into that yellow green. I could use a different brush, but this one covers a lot of area, so I don't think I will. I'm still using orange and yellow. Okay, now let's go ahead and maybe paint some of the mountains that are in the distance. This time I think I will change my brush. And I picked up a little smaller brush here, which is, I don't necessarily have to use this one, but I thought it would be good to show you. This is a pointy brush, and it's a number, usually these brushes are like number 10. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in, let's see, this is ultramarine blue and a little tiny bit of burnt sienna. And let's get this shading in here. This time I put my brush into a little cobalt. Okay, now let's see. Let's do a little bit of an outline here of some of the land. Okay, now let's go back again and use this brush, and let's paint some of the big trees that are over here. Okay, I'm using my Hooker's Green. I really should show you some of the other. I'm going to show you another green, even though I don't like it, but I think you should see it. I'm going to do it over here, and I'm going to show you how to change it. That's the green. It's very bright. If I want to change it a little bit, what I do, change it a little bit by adding some orange or some burnt sienna so it isn't so bright. And actually, it's so nice, I might go ahead and use it over here. Let's see. Okay, using this time my Hooker's Green and my burnt sienna. Again, this is the Hooker's Green, and put a little bit of ultramarine in it at this point. Okay, there's one tree here. Let's go ahead and put the other trees in. I'm changing the colors a little bit. And the way I'm painting this is I'm holding my brush on the side, just like this, and just sort of moving it back and forth. This tree here looks a little darker than this one, which I want it to be darker. This is pretty wet, so it's sort of disappearing a little bit. Okay. Now, there is a big tree over here, and I'm going to get some color underneath there. And let's see. Okay. Back again to the Hooker's Green. Well, there's another green right next to it. Let's see what happens. Not bad. don't know what color this one is. I wonder how many of you have been to a place where they have beautiful mountains. This one happens to be in Colorado, but there are a lot of places in the United States that have beautiful mountains. Boy, this should be darker. And although, if you take a little trip to Switzerland, you will really find some beautiful mountains. I'm going to use my sponge here too, but I wanted to cover this. I didn't want to use a sponge on such a large territory on the paper. I will put some sponge work in here. I changed my hand just now because it was boring, and I held it this way instead of holding it the other way. Let me use my sponge soon. You probably don't know what I mean when I say my sponge. Okay, here is a sponge, and I dip this sponge or paint it, and then put it on my paper, and I get texture. Let's see what happens now. Going to dip it into the water and then dip it into some ultramarine blue. Put it in some darker color. Okay. Put a few little dots here and there to give some texture to this too. Okay. Now I'm going to do some more trees. Again, I'm using my brown, and I'm using it on the side. Now, I think what I'm going to do is show you something else while I'm doing this. I like to show you an assortment of things. Let me put some more. This time, I'm using a fan brush. Let me see what I could do with this fan brush and make it look different. Oh boy. It's nice. The best thing to do is just to experiment with all these things. I just want to show you how the fan brush can work. This time, I'm using the fan brush like a fan. And then sometimes on the side. Good for doing grasses. Oh, yeah. We got to do that mountain in the background. We got to make that mountain darker. I forgot about that. So let's go ahead, and this time, let's take this brush. This is my pointy brush. A pointy brush. I don't know which one it is because I have a few. Okay. I'm going to dip this into something different this time. Oh. What I'm dipping it into, I don't know, is some red. Dip it into some cobalt blue here. And let's see, there's an assortment of blues here. Oh, there's a little bit of, do some little trees here. Sometimes the shapes come out sort of funny, but they could be fixed later on. Maybe put some more mountain ranges back here. Okay, let's make some twigs or some branches over here. I could use, which brush do I want to use to show you? Well, let's see. Let's use this brush here. I'm using my burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and let's see if we could get some I like to weave. It's almost like weaving the branches between the leaves, like this. I want to show you something else. Let's see if I can find that brush. Oh, I don't see it right now. Oh, yes, I do. I don't know if it's going to work, but all right, this brush, believe it or not, is called a scrubber. And it has white bristles that are hard. I should be changing my water, but I'll try and do it with this water. And I'm going to scrub off some paint. Oh, yes, wow. This really comes off very nicely. I'm barely, I'm taking a little bit of water and just taking that water and just running it on this brush, and the paint comes right off. And then I can blot it with a paper towel. Actually, I know that these come in different sizes, too. Here's what it looks like, and it's actually called a scrubber. It says over here, Fritsch Scrubber. So this does work very nicely. Okay, let's continue. Well, we do have some, I do have some rocks over here. Here I go again with the rocks, but I'm going to draw these rocks here in pencil. And I'm going to hope that this works this time. I don't know, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. So I'm taking a pointy brush. I'll tell you what I'm doing in a minute. It really did work. And this is the razor blade, and this is what it looks like. I'll add more color to it. I'm going to put some more dark color here and see what happens. It looks like this. And let's see. Okay, this is a sort of a brownish, reddish color. Now let's see if it's going to work this time. Yeah, it works pretty good. I used several different colors over here, and I'm going to put in some darks here. Made a mixture of all kinds of darks. Well, they do look like rocks. Let me go ahead and put some tree trunks here. I'm using a little, it's not a very unusual brush. It's just a little narrower brush than the others. Okay, let's go ahead and put some more trees in here. I'm trying to do them a little differently, each one, so you can see how to do trees, because trees are pretty difficult to do. Let's see. I feel like doing a little darker at the top of that mountain range. I've used quite a bit of color in these trees, so you can see. I've used a hook. It sounds like using the same colors, and I really am, but I'm using blues, I'm using greens. I could put a little yellow in too. Why not? Let's see what happens. I'm not going to put too much yellow. I don't know if I really like it. Okay. Okay, let's put some more trees back here. Again, I'm using the same brush because it just works for me. Oh, it's pretty color. Oh, that's a different color. Instead of using the green like I did, I decided to use blue. Blue looks different. It looks a little nicer. Let's put a little blue here. Well, we got a big tree here too. Oh, that tree is even darker than this tree. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. What color I'm going to be using this time is, let's see if I can find, oh yes, I found it. Let's try it out here. Oh boy. This is very dark. This color is an indigo. And indigo is very dark, almost blackish color. So I really don't want it that color. So trying to remember where was I sitting when I was photographing. I love these rocks now. I think I might make some more of them. And I'm going to take this, no, I won't take the photograph off. I'll just continue my tree down here. I want this dark, and I actually want it darker than this background. Actually, get a little dark here. I don't know if, yeah, I guess I'll make another blue tree there. Okay, now I'm going to make some more rocks because I feel like it. So I'm going to take this photograph off here and make some more rocks. So we're going to make a dark color over here. And I used sort of a crimson red last time. What I'm doing is mixing up a bunch of colors here. Okay, let's hope that this works like the other side did. Okay, here's my razor blade. Let me try the other razor blade too that I have here. Wow. That works pretty nice. Yep, gonna do some more rocks down there. I like them. I'm using this time crimson and burnt sienna. Oh, everything. A little blue, a little. You have to work fast. Don't want it to dry. very wet, so it might be too wet. I don't know. Well, no, it isn't too wet. They look like rocks. Now this time I'm using a regular razor blade. I'll show it to you. And the razor blade I'm using is a double-edged razor blade, which I bought in the drugstore. And I put on it 2 pieces of tape so I wouldn't cut myself while I was doing this. Okay, how about me making some grass here? Okay, I'm going to I picked up another sponge this time. Stuck it in here, and let's see. I'm going to use I'm actually using everything on my palette. I'm using my yellow ochre. I'm using, as I say, at this point, I dip my sponge into pretty much everything. It's beginning to look like Echo Lake. This sponge seems to even work better than the first sponge. It's a little softer, see? And okay, I'm going to make a tree trunk there. Okay, so here I go again. Oh, I think that's my burnt sienna. Nope, it's not burnt sienna. It's red. Oh, let's put... Yeah, it came out a little purple, so let's... Well, I have to say these colors are interesting, and they are a surprise to me because I'm just dipping my brush into everything I have on my palette. And Well, at this point, I'm really, oh boy, I'm getting very unusual colors. At this point, I think I will stop. Okay, let's see. Should I put some more color in the water? Maybe a little bit. Some cobalt blue. I'm using this brush this time, and I picked up some, it looks like, oh yeah, it looks like yellow ochre. And I'm adding more and more color. It's funny because I thought this was going to be a one color thing, but it's many colors in here. Well, this has really gotten pretty colorful. Let's get some color on those rocks. Now, how am I going to do that? I'm going to take my orange color with a lot of water, and I'm going to put a glaze over this. See, I'll try some more. That's nice. That's a glaze where I added water to the color and then went right over what was underneath, and this is what happened. Now, should I change these colors? Yeah, let's do something here. Why not? Let's take some, this is my cerulean blue. Now, I did the same glaze here. This came out pretty color. Oops. Okay, at this point, I am going to stop. I'm taking my painting back to my studio, and I'm going to study it a little bit more and see if I forgot to put something in. Shouldn't forget to put any color in, that's right, because I did get a lot of color in here, and I'm happy with the color that I put in here because I didn't expect to do quite that much. here's something too. This is not a big tree. It's a different size than that. So I'm painting a lot of trees, but they're all different from each other. So that makes it interesting. Not to mention the fact that they are not, the spaces between the trees here, these two spaces are the same. But when it comes to the other spaces, they're different. So it would to be more interesting when you put things down, then you place them a little bit differently in relation to the next one. So thank you for coming. This is an unusual way of doing my things, and I would like you to go ahead and look at my webpage, because my webpage shows a lot of city scenes with a lot of windows. And it's called judyswatercolors.com. So thanks a lot for coming, and I hope that you try some of the things I showed you. Bye. I'm very pleased with the painting.
I think it's amazing.